Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of content that is relevant to aspiring founders, existing founders that are truly looking to fulfill their missions in real time and being an impact in the community. So, for those of you who are just tuning in and don't know who I am, I am here. My name is Asia Nasir. I'm founder of Utopian Enterprise Business Solutions, which is a boutique consulting firm for nonprofit organizations, regardless of size or just starting out or existing and finding yourself in a crossroads and wanting to, get over that hump. This is what my consulting firm is all about, specific to nonprofit organizations. And I'm also the founder of the book Nonprofit Doesn't Mean No Profit, which you can see right up here, where you can get right now on Amazon. So I am back for another week. Each and every week I'm here sharing content that is specific to nonprofit organizations from all different type of topics and things that are really going to help you, things that you don't even think about as you're running, because I think we get so inundated as a nonprofit organization in just securing funds, because that's the biggest thing. That's our biggest obstacle as nonprofit organizations, is we find that, we're constantly looking for that, securing our programs and our services, which is a huge aspect of running a nonprofit. But the little things kind of get lost by the wayside. And then we end up at some point when it becomes, critical. We have to deal with these things at some point. And so what today's topic is one that we find within nonprofit organizations that happens very often, and that's burnout. Burnout and, just losing the momentum and the well-being of those that are on your team. So today is specific more so to board of directors, because board of directors, along with the executive director, the founder, you find yourself, kind of like on this hamster wheel where you're constantly moving, going, and doing so many things to the point where you get burnt out, even though you love the work that you're doing, you love the impact that you're striving to make within the community, but you're finding burnout. And I think because, nonprofit organizations are so focused on, securing funds, we tend to miss the signs of burnout within our team, burnout within board of directors. And unfortunately, we don't see it until it's too late. So today's topic is going to be on something that I'm hoping is going to help you to be able to kind of pick up and see, are there some signs within my team of burnout, and how can I revitalize my team and tackle this burnout and enhance well-being on an ongoing basis for my organization to avoid this type of thing, because this is where we get board of directors turnaround, and you get a lot of transition, and a lot of disruption happens in transition within board of directors. So as always, I share 5 strategies, and today is going to be no different, but it is going to be different, because I actually have a bonus. I have a bonus that I want to share with you today on strategies, but we're going to focus on really 5 strategies. And then if time permits, I'm going to, talk about the bonus that I think is really going to help your nonprofit organization to be able to tackle this and kind of bring that morale back and revitalize and rejuvenate your team, specifically your board of directors. So the first strategy is, I feel as a nonprofit, sometimes we become very rigid in how, hi Seisha, assalamu alaikum. In our board of directors, we feel like it has to be a face-to-face meeting. It has to be face-to-face. And I think that there is room for that. We do need to have that face-to-face interaction. We need to have, that kind of touch within our team. However, there should be flexibility. You need to implement a flexible work schedule within your board of directors, so that way it doesn't have burnout. What we have to remember is our board of directors are volunteers. They are volunteers, which means we're not paying them for their services. So they're literally working either a 9 to 5, or they're a stay-at-home mom, they're homeschooling, they're doing whatever it is that they typically do to secure funds for themselves to be able to take care of their families. So this is an extra that they're doing for the nonprofit organization. And depending on who we have on our board of directors, we need to have some flexibility, within that. And what I mean by flexibility is, schedule. Sometimes, especially for those of you that live on the East Coast, where the weather can get pretty bad, and things like that, or we live in cities that traffic is just, I mean, horrendous. There's some places in Los Angeles that are crazy, places in New York that's really crazy, places in, Philadelphia, that the traffic is really bad. So if you have board of directors, or you live in a city where traffic is extremely bad, especially getting off work, maybe having a virtual meeting would be a great option, to be able to kind of accommodate your board of directors, where they don't feel the burnout of, gosh, I'm rushing from one place to the next, I'm running to one place to the next, picking up my kids, going to work, going to a meeting. Sometimes it becomes a bit much, and although they love your organization and they want to support, it becomes overwhelming. So what we can do is look to see if we can accommodate and do different things, to ensure that their voice is still heard within the board of directors meetings. However, sometimes it may not be face to face for some of them. And so we need to be able to provide that flexibility of being able to, meet remotely, and do things, such of that nature. If there's really nothing going on within the organization, maybe just, having flexibility within the time of your meeting. Maybe your meeting doesn't require an hour. Maybe your meeting only requires 20 minutes. So you don't have to drag out a meeting just to say, okay, we had an hour meeting, this month. You can be flexible. Hey, this is what's going on. Everything's going good. Everybody's doing great. This is where we're going. Maybe there's communication via email and people are responding. And so the meeting doesn't have to be an hour long, a 45-minute, so having that flexibility within the meetings, and virtual or remote versus face-to-face, sometimes, that's something that can really, really help and accommodate, and let your board of directors know that you do care, you see them, you see their plight, in trying to support. And so you want to give back that support and making sure that you accommodate and are flexible with, the work schedule as it relates to board meetings and so forth. So that's strategy number one. Strategy number two is, and this is really, really important because this is an ongoing thing, promoting a healthy work environment. I think we've all worked in environments before in the corporate world, or still working in those environments where it's very toxic. Very toxic. You don't want to be there. Some of us, and I've been there before, when I worked in the corporate world, in financial institutions, not all of them, but some of the workplaces that I went to, I'm going to tell you, there were times where my stomach hurt, just the thought of going to work. I didn't feel well. I, felt very sick to go to work. That's not what the environment that you want to create, especially as a nonprofit where this is a good feel. We're doing something good for the community. We're doing something for our fellow man, right? That should be a good feeling to be able to come and be a part of anything that your nonprofit is doing. But the only way that we can do that within the, internally within the organization, is to create a healthy work environment. So what does that look like, right? So it's easy to say, oh yeah, create a healthy work environment. But what does that actually look like? Well, for one, especially within the board of directors team, having open communication. I think that is so, so important. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of nonprofit organizations, they like to have people on their board that just goes with the flow, doesn't challenge anything. Now, I'm not saying to have someone that's disruptive, that they're just combative just for the sake of being combative. That's not what I'm talking about. But I'm talking about someone who actually brings about some good points and say, I know we've been doing it this way, but, I think there's a smarter way to do this. And here's what I propose. Give the person the opportunity, give your board of directors, give your team that autonomy to be able to say, yes, I have that open communication. I can say, well, I tend to disagree. I think there's a better way to do this. And here's what I propose. A respectful way, and being able to communicate. I think that's so important, because that's where growth lies. A lot of times you'll see nonprofit organizations stagnant and not growing because they're doing the same thing, even though the trends and the times have changed. So if you have board of directors that are, introducing new ideas, be open to hearing those ideas. Doesn't necessarily mean you're going to take it, but have the environment where everybody's voice is heard, even if it differs from everyone else's voice, right? As long as it's respectful. Two, what that looks like is recognizing and celebrating accomplishments. If someone comes up with a great idea and it helps the organization and it does well for the organization, or someone stood out in their fundraising efforts, those are those that should be recognized. That's a healthy environment, showing gratitude and appreciation for those that are supporting your cause and helping you to champion your cause, accomplish, even no matter how small the accomplishment or how big the accomplishment, recognize it and provide regular feedback, which is why I say performance evaluations are very, very important within your board. Once a year, just like in any other job, have performance evaluations, have biannual or quarterly feedback where you're talking and sitting down with your team and saying, how are you feeling, what's happening, so that way you can customize to each person based on the feedback that they're providing, to be able to be an organization that hears its people and be able to accommodate, if needed, to be able to make some adjustments that you feel will work smarter and not harder, and to be able to avoid burnout for some of your board of directors. So that's strategy number 2. Strategy number 3 is something that I think, even when I was like, oh, I need to start implementing this. And this is providing or having access to mental health resources. So sometimes we just kind of live in our little bubble of nonprofit world. This is our meeting, this is what we're doing, not understanding that our board of directors are having life outside of your nonprofit organization. They're going through things. Sometimes they're becoming caregivers of their aging parents. I did that before. That is a huge adjustment to your social life, to your work life, to every part of your life. Emotionally, caring for an aging parent, watching your parents become someone that you don't recognize just on an emotional level is very, very difficult, and it pulls a lot. So in nonprofit, you're giving a lot of yourself. So sometimes one of your board members may feel strained. Maybe one of your board members is dealing with, their children going through some changes. Those teenage years can be very challenging, things like that. So, mental health days are so important. Maybe they're stressed out at work, whatever the circumstances. Providing access to mental health resources is so important. So what does that look like, right? Have mental health days. Have mental health days where you have a day where you talk about stress you facilitate stress management workshops, burnout workshops. You address those type of issues. How do you overcome? What are some personal things that you can do to revitalize yourself, rejuvenate yourself, stay focused and centered, and things like that? Those are things that you can do. And there's a lot of mental health organizations out there that are willing to actually facilitate these workshops for free, because they already have the funding to be able to do it. This is what they do. They want the word to get out that this is what they do. So sometimes you can find, or for a very nominal fee, because these are other nonprofit organizations doing this as well. So this is so important. Or if you have health benefits and things like that, sometimes you can have them facilitate virtual mental health days. So that could be part of your monthly meeting, to be able to have a mental health day, just to address things like managing stress and burnout and things like that. So that way, again, it provides that open communication within your team to be able to, articulate and share and get out maybe things that are keeping them from performing at the highest level, and what you can do as an organization to be able to accommodate and help those that are helping your organization to be able to feel less stressed out and to feel less overwhelmed. Because when you're dealing with someone who feels burnout, you get the least amount of productivity. They're doing the bare minimum, literally doing the bare minimum. So you don't want to have that type of board of directors on your team, because it is an ongoing thing. It's the next fundraiser, the next grant, the next event, the next program. It's an ongoing thing because it's a business. It doesn't stop. The recipients doesn't stop coming in. So you have to continue to provide the programs and services that your organization provides. So It's definitely something that also needs to be ongoing, which is your mental health days and your workshops that are going to be able to help, and then providing resources outside of the workshop, that if they want to do it on a private level, here are some resources of who you can call, who you can, or maybe we have a plan as a nonprofit organization where we have a partnership with these mental health resources that you can call them, be able to speak and be able to talk. These are things that you should be doing, because there is life outside of your nonprofit organization that your board of directors and your team are a part of. And sometimes it's not so rosy and pretty. So you want to be able to provide those, so that way it doesn't have a negative impact for the board member itself, and it doesn't trickle down into your nonprofit organization where it's a negative impact, right? So that's strategy number 3. Strategy number 4, and this one I love, because I think sometimes we get kind of stuck in a rut, and this is encouraging rotation between responsibilities. So yes, you have your officers and things like that. What you will find in many grassroots nonprofits is the secretary stays the secretary forever. The treasurer stays the treasurer forever. The vice president, the president of the board, stays that position forever. And any other position, the person is the program director, or they handle this or they handle that. That becomes stagnant. And sometimes when you're just stagnant, doing the same thing over and over, and you got this monotonous routine going on, that can create burnout. That can create this lack of motivation and vitality. It's just like, I don't want to do this anymore, right? So sometimes rotating positions, especially for those that are interested, new board members that want to come in and they're fired up and they want to do things, rotate those positions. And it's not a dig on anyone, but it's just, this is what we do. We rotate to keep things, fresh. It keeps, keep in mind, making sure that the person is qualified for, the position that you may be rotating them to. But this takes me to strategy number 5. Invest in your team in professional development, meaning skill sets, mentorships, internships within your organization, where if this one is the treasurer, right, have them shadow for a day, with the treasurer, if you're rotating, right? If it's the secretary and you're rotating positions, where now this person is going to take on, make sure that they're learning, how to keep the meeting minutes, when they're sending out meeting notifications, how they store the stuff. This is really good. And this just helps with succession planning as well, because all of your board members should have a term. So when that term is over, you have someone else who can just step in, or if someone is sick, or if someone, abruptly has to leave the organization, you're not left with, oh, who's going to do this? And again, you have that major disruption, which changes, the focus and the momentum, that's happening with the nonprofit organization. This helps you to be able to just keep it going, and it keeps things exciting, because now they're learning a new skill set within your organization. They're learning another way in which they contribute to your nonprofit organization. So this really helps to be able to keep people from feeling burnt out, feeling, bored and stagnant within your organization. This keeps it fresh. This keeps it exciting. This keeps it, what's next? What am I doing now? And it keeps that burnout from happening. So strategy number 4, which is encouraging rotation, should be in line with training and development and mentorship within the nonprofit organization. I feel like I got to sneeze, but it doesn't want to come out. It's like right there and it doesn't want to come out. But strategy number 4 and 5 absolutely have to go together. Rotating without training and leaving someone to kind of have to, do something new without any training or understanding of the position is going to really be a detriment to your organization. So you don't want to do that. But have where once a year you're rotating different skill sets within your nonprofit, and make sure you have that mentorship, that internal mentorship, so that way they know how they can actually do this. And actually do their new role and new position. Here's the bonus. And I think this is something that, as part of the leadership team, whether it's the executive director, president of the board, or the founder of the nonprofit organization, this next one is a bonus, and it's a very important bonus. And that is, if you really want to help your organization and help your team to not feel burnt out, you have to respect boundaries. If someone within your organization said that they can only give this many hours to the organization, or taking on rotating is going to take on added, because some people may be like, look, I really can't because of other things that I have going on. They should be open to it and try to accommodate those rotations where you may be giving them a new skill set that doesn't require more than they have already committed to. However, if someone says right now there's a big thing going on at my job, and I'm the person that's responsible for this, or this is going on in my family, I want to be able to do this. Maybe in 6 months I can, but right now is not something that I can take the lead or take the charge in this thing. You have to respect people's no's, because saying yes can be, well, saying yes is expensive. And I say this all the time. I read it in a book called Balance. Saying yes is expensive, because when you say yes to something, you are definitely saying no to other things. Because if I'm committed to this thing, then that means I can't do certain things because there's only so much time in a day, right? So if someone tells you no, they're not able to do something, then you have to respect, and they can articulate, look, this is why. You have to respect that boundary. Sometimes we try to pressure people within our board to say, well, look, there's no one else to do it. We need you to do this. Just give it a try, and then we'll see what happens. What ends up happening is that the person can't perform what they're doing. Now you feel some type of way. They feel some type of way. The organization is suffering. The recipients are suffering, right? And here's the morale going down within the nonprofit organization, within your team. And that can be, just the emotional tug within your organization can be a cause for burnout. So when people, I don't know, maybe let's take a look at something else. Let's take a look at something else, because we do need to rotate. We do need to make some changes, but maybe this one is not a good fit for you. And respect the boundaries, because trying to push people to do something that they're clearly articulating they don't have the time commitment, or right now they're going through something and it's a lot, it's another added thing on their plate that's going to be way overwhelming, that is going to cause serious burnout and just downright, look, I'm going to resign. And then you're really left in a pickle, because now you not only do you not have the person there, you no longer have whatever skill set they were doing, but now the added one as well. So you really have to respect when people say no. If someone says no, respect their boundaries, respect the reason why they're giving you, and then look for an alternative, or even ask the person, what alternative can you suggest for the organization? So that way they don't feel guilty of just leaving the organization high and dry because they couldn't say yes, but now we're all coming up with a solution that could really help the organization. So being respectful to people's no's, because no's is not easy to say, but sometimes it's absolutely necessary for the longevity, for the benefit, for the long haul. That no needs to be said, and that no needs to be respected, right? So those are the strategies that I wanted to share with you today for your organization to be able to avoid burnout, to revitalize your team. So those recognitions, those mental health days, those are going to be extraordinary strategies to be able to implement within your organization to just revitalize, your team, and making them feel appreciated and understood and seen and heard. All of the things that help us, to fill our soul. That's what they're going to give back to the organization. So if you've been seeing some burnout, if you've been seeing some lag and some stagnant, movement within your organization, take a look at these strategies here. Sit down and talk with your board. See where they're at mentally. See where they are, because what you don't want to do is just have a flush of, board of directors all leaving at the same time, and now you're really left trying to figure out what you're going to do for your nonprofit organization. So I really, really encourage you to reflect on some of the strategies today. And if you found benefit in them, make sure that you share it with your team. Make sure that your team knows that you care about them, because that's what they're going to give back to the recipients and those that are, coming to your organization for assistance. Um, as I mentioned before, if you enjoyed this, please hit the like button, comment on maybe something that you took away from today's session, our discussion this morning. Leave a comment as to, what maybe you think you can do within your organization, or if you have an added tip or a suggestion or strategy for the viewers, please make sure you do that and share. As I mentioned before, sharing is caring. So if you know a nonprofit founder or someone who sits on a board, or a spouse that sits on a board that's been saying, hey, I feel a little burnout, maybe you can share this with them as well, and then they can share it with their nonprofit organization. If you are looking for someone to be able to assist you in revitalizing and having a workshop, a fun, a fun activity to be able to get your team members back on track, helping to rotate and helping to create that kind of movement within your organization, I can definitely assist you as a certified nonprofit strategist. I can assist with that. If you are interested in those services, please feel free to reach out on my website at utopianenterprisebiz.com and reach out to me for a consultation, and we can customize the workshop for your team in particular. I love to actually do those type of workshops because they're a lot of fun, and I get to meet a lot of wonderful people doing great things. So I'll be here next week, God willing, with another topic. And the end of the year in November and December, we have some really, really hot topics. So make sure that if you're not following me on YouTube, make sure you follow on YouTube, Asia Nasir 2014 on YouTube. Hit that notification bell and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss an episode. And I'll see you all next week. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll be talking to you soon.